What's up, guys, and welcome back to Collection Commentary. Today we are going to be talking about a couple of clones that I picked up recently, as well as the topic of clones in general. So I recently acquired this Cleaver Clone and this Medford Praetorian clone. Now, as far as how people feel about clones in general, I'm obviously against the whole idea of making a clone with the intention of selling it as real. Obviously, that's just a full-on scam, and that's awful in every way, and nobody wants that. So anytime that's the situation, I am super opposed. But the idea of clones in general that are clearly marketed as clones and sold at a reasonable price, that are still crafted by like a workshop. Of course they're going to be Chinese, and that's normal, but I don't see any reason that there should be something wrong with that, especially because it allows people who are perhaps on a budget to be able to afford something that they would never be able to afford. Like, for example, this Medford Pretoria clone. It is very, very heavy, and instead of $600 like it would normally cost if I were to purchase a new real one, I'm going to get this out of the way for a sec. It costs $600 normally, but this clone was $36. Now, obviously, it's not the real thing, and it doesn't serve the same purpose as the real thing. But if you are somebody who doesn't have $600 to shell out on your favorite knife, and if a Medford Praetorian is your absolute grail, then who am I to say that you shouldn't be able to spend $36 to effectively experience your favorite knife that's on the market? Now, that said, this clone is not really special in any way. It's kind of hard to open and close, but that is to be expected, as is the real Praetorian. I picked it up because I knew that a Praetorian was never on my list of things to buy, and I work in an office, and I'm lucky enough to get away with things like the 604D at almost 9 inches. I have a, I guess, boss who's chill enough with that I can carry that to work and let people know about it and use it to do things with, but I could never get away with this thing. As you can see, it's slightly bigger. We'll say slightly bigger. So I knew that this was something that I would never buy, especially at the $600 mark. There are some other knives that are cheaper that I can justify, even though they're not something I super duper want, like this Carter Prime that I will do a video on shortly. So when I saw it for $36, I was like, hey, that's great. I'll get to feel what it feels like, kind of inspect the design of the Praetorian in general, and I will have a pry bar for if I ever need one. And, I sliced it through some paper. It actually cuts, which I think is hilarious. You can't see the detent hole. But this one's not super special. So that's my Medford Praetorian clone. Who knows if I'll keep it? But it was definitely well worth the $36 to have an opportunity to experience a design that's, I don't know if I would even say popular, but just like so well known as the Medford Praetorian. So that was pretty cool. I picked that up. Now this one, this Cleaver Clone, this is a little more special. Now, I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for this until I'm done talking about it. But I absolutely love this thing. I think it is friggin' hilarious. Just watch the action on this. Okay, it's a monster. When I put it up against the 604D, there's no comparison. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculously huge. It's so big. I think I measured it at 10 inches. Here, let's double check. Yeah, right at about 10 inches. Exactly, really. It's not something you really want to get caught with in public, especially, I don't know, maybe if you work in like a workshop or like a construction zone, but I don't want to be seen in slacks with a clip that's the size of my pinky finger hanging out of my pocket when I'm at work. So this was, again, something that I knew I would never be able to own a real version, because it's simply something that I can't carry, and if I can't carry it, for the most part, it's not in my collection, or if I don't get some use out of it. Now, I'm not a hard use guy. I don't need to take it camping with me or beat it against wood to be satisfied, but if I can't put it in my pocket and take it with me to work, I don't want it. Or get use out of it, like this Kiradashi, which I won't reveal just yet. But like, I can use that knife for model work, which is really cool. So I knew I would never be able to use this, so I didn't want to ever have to afford a real one. So instead, I bought this. Now, it is D2 steel. It is genuine D2 steel. This is a Chinese clone, but it's still genuine D2. That said, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I think you can see it there. There is some surface rust. No one said that it was good D2, and that's something that I actually want to touch on real quick about knife guys in general and talking about steels on their knives. You know, a lot of people say, especially D2 is particularly controversial. You know, they're on the Browse blades and everything, and Browse has repeatedly said that, oh, you know, we've proven that D2 is perfectly good steel and all of that, and a lot of other people consider it to be kind of a lower grade steel. But as with any steel, it's important to remember that the way it's forged is just as important as the kind of steel that it is. If you get, you know, CPM S35VN, but made by people that don't know how to make it, then it's not going to be as good. And the same is true of D2. There's all kinds of different quality levels that you're going to find steels at. So this is D2, but it's not nearly as good as the D2 I would have found in the Browse flipper that I had a little while ago. But it's still D2 nonetheless. What I'm really satisfied with are these two giant slabs of titanium and this titanium milled clip. The fact that this whole frame is chamfered at a 45-degree angle is really nice. So surprisingly, this is crafted super well. And if we take another look at that action, not only is it smooth on the out every time, it of course drops closed thanks to the fact that, you know, the blade weighs like 1 billion pounds, but drops closed nonetheless. And it's really hard to get the action to not work. You can kind of see here, I'm not really pulling on this hard at all. It's hard to, you know, show force in video, but that's still just about got to full lockup, even just barely slipping my finger across it. So that's actually really good for the action on something that's this huge. And, you know, a lot of it's thanks to the blade weight, but it does speak to how the knife was made. I haven't really had to mess with the knife at all. The centering is off a little bit, but I've been flipping it an absolute ton. I'm sure I just need to tighten up that pivot. And again, that's what you get with a clone. But I had to have this thing when I saw it. It weighs a ton. I love the way it feels. I love sitting at my desk and flipping it and knowing that I could never get away with this anywhere else. And so I'll tell you guys now, I paid $100 for this. Now, looking back on it, I kind of wish I didn't spend $100 on it, but that's not to say that it isn't worth $100, because with two giant slabs of titanium, which, by the way, I will send out to get this colored, so leave a comment down below if you have an idea for what kind of anodization you think this beast would look good in. But the build quality and just what you get for $100 is a million times worth it. And honestly, I have no regrets. If I was presented with the same decision and knew what I knew now, I probably wouldn't buy it, just because again, I won't carry it, and it's a lot easier to justify $36 on something I'm never going to use and probably going to sell again than it is to justify $100 on something I plan on keeping and getting customized. But that said, I love the knife. It's going to be something that I play with all the time when I'm at home, and I just think it's absolutely hysterical. It's just so damn big. You can actually, I think I did this the other day, if you lay it down flat, you can take the Reich 1507 and the WE 604D. I don't know if I'll be able to do this without scratching up my knives, but they both fit on the cleaver in its entirety, which is just freaking hysterical. Oh man, I love it. So anyway, guys, you know, leave a comment down below on how you feel about clones. I do own a Gnome, which is currently out being anodized, and you know, a lot of people say that knife doesn't have an original, that it's not actually cloned off of anything. Others will say that's not true. I've never found out either way, honestly, but a knife like the Gnome is a fantastic knife for a totally reasonable price, full titanium construction, and I don't think there's any reason that somebody shouldn't be able to buy a super well-built, super fun, super cool knife for super cheap. And, you know, if they get some Chinese version of the blade steel, or some maybe less than stellar titanium, then so be it. You know, if you're only spending 40 or 50 bucks, why shouldn't you be able to have a full titanium flipper in your pocket instead of something, you know, some G10 like Rat 2 or something like that? I don't think people should be pushed completely out of certain materials or certain finishes or designs or styles just because they can't afford it. So I think clones are super cool. For people who can't necessarily afford the real thing, or can't justify spending that much on the real thing, but want to get a taste for some of their favorite designs. But again, that always assumes that the clones are marketed fairly and priced fairly, and I typically see that. I don't see a lot of scamming happening in comparison to the amount of legitimate clone sales that I see going on. So everybody just be super careful, always double check, read reviews, make sure that you're getting a serious, that you're getting a real, you know, good product and not getting scammed. And if you ever have any questions, obviously feel free to jump on Reddit or anywhere really that there are knife clubbers, and you can just ask around and they'll help you out. So thanks a lot, guys. There is one more thing, which is to say that I got this in today. This is the Custom Knife Factory Sequoia 2.0, and I am super pumped, and I will have a video coming up on this soon. I just need to carry it a little bit and get a feel for how much I love it, which I already know that I do. This was a grail for me. I'm super pumped to have it, and so I'm really excited to share that with you guys, along with a bunch of other knives. Over the next 3 weeks or so, I have maybe 10 or so knives between things that I bought and stuff that people are sending me. Thank you very much, by the way, for the people that have opted to send me their knives and other EDC gear. If you would like to send me something for commentary, you can do so. Just email me at tovarishworks@gmail.com. Thanks a lot, guys. If you want to see the video on the Sequoia, make sure to subscribe, and if you enjoyed this video, please like it. I'll see you next time.